Are you ready to experience the impossible? Are you ready, my friend? Because, well, if you choose to see it, maybe it's there. There's a very wonderful story about a woman who had a strange dream. Very strange dream. She's been dreaming about a little animal that was made out of diamonds. And that animal was alive, it was walking on the ground. So she decided to talk with a famous Swiss psychologist, Carl Jung. So she went to him to talk about this strange dream, and Carl Jung said to her, "This dream is a sign for you that impossible is possible. You're still being too rational in your life, and maybe this dream symbolizes to you that you can open up even more. And even when you think that something can't happen, it's only your belief. Maybe this dream of yours is reminding you that you can open up even more, because there are possibilities way beyond the range of what you see, and only when you start looking for them, they show up." One idea is that we only see what we are wired to perceive, and we are wired based by what we've perceived in the past, based by what surrounded us in the past, right? So if you want to experience the impossible, you firstly need to start conditioning yourself that, well, maybe what you think that is impossible actually is not so impossible. Actually, it may be possible. And another story here is from my life. Just yesterday, I've experienced something that few years ago I would say that is impossible. Like, my parents came to visit me, and we had the most incredible conversation. We were listening each other, we were present with each other, we had a very high energy, and it was very beautiful. Like, I went to sleep with a very grateful heart. And well, in the past, my relationship with my parents was not like that. It was actually just the opposite. Like, when I was a little kid, I was just waiting when I will be independent so I can move away, so I can move as far as I can from my parents, because I never had like an open and honest relationship with them, because they were closed, they were emotionally closed. We were not talking about almost like nothing below superficial level. And we were emotionally close. We were not hugging. We were not like, nobody ever asked anyone, "How are you?" Nobody was interested into like, what am I doing? What am I thinking? Everything was more like about certain type of opinions. Like, you should do this, you should do that because this is safe. And that was it. And because I was always out of the box thinker, I saw a life in a different way. And when I've started following my way, when I've started doing sports that were not normal, when I've started looking for jobs that were not normal, when I started dreaming bigger that was not normal, I received no support, I received no understanding, and that made me think like, I'm not seen. I'm like, my dreams don't matter, my life, like the way I want to experience life doesn't matter. So yes, as soon as it was possible, I moved away, and I was avoiding my family. It was quite a long story for me. But, well, now we've created a very wonderful relationship with my parents. I'm very grateful how everything evolved. And it was, well, if I would go back into my childhood, I would say it's impossible. It's impossible that I can actually work with them. Like, I can actually have deep, profound conversations with them. Well, it happened. It didn't happen because I prayed for it, or because I visualized it, or because I was dreaming about it. I actually, well, I was not thinking much about it. But what I did change was that at some point in my life, I've decided that I don't want to repeat patterns that are dysfunctional in my family. So anything that I found dysfunctional in my family, I wanted to break that pattern and start a new one. When I met Maya, my partner, I've noticed, well, her parents are quite more open, very loving. They talk about deep human things as well. They always, when we see each other, they're like, how are you? How was your day? And things like that. It was so, not normal to me. So I've noticed, okay, if I want to break the dysfunctional patterns from my family, I need to learn from someone who's actually functioning better. So, well, I can embody some of what works. And, well, when I met Maya's parents and I've noticed how they're functioning, I've recognized, okay, they share their vulnerabilities. They're open about what's going on in their lives. They're very present, when you talk with them, they're present. So I've noticed, okay, I need to learn to open myself, to trust people, to talk about how I feel sometimes, to be vulnerable, and to be present. And when I've started being more like this, which is quite a journey of itself, I've recognized that, people with whom I'm developing this kind of relationships are more like this as well, and therefore I've started surrounding myself with people who have these qualities that in my family were lacking. But then the interesting thing started happening also in my family. As I've made few steps forward on this path of, emotional openness, honesty, being more present, I've noticed that, every time I make few steps forward, also my family members make at least one step forward. And many times, they're not doing much work on themselves. They're not reading certain specific books, but it just happens very spontaneously that they open up. Or when I open up to them, they also open up to me, because maybe we don't need tools as much as we need examples. And once we see examples, we ask them, what's your secret? So, for quite some time, I wanted to be a fixer, to fix my family members, right? And it never worked. They became resentful. But when you just show up with a different energy, at some point they open up as well. And not immediately, not in the next year or 2 years, but in the next 5 years, there's some progress. So yes, even impossible can be possible. I've experienced that in my family. So, maybe I don't know how this story can be relatable to you, but maybe you have ideas about your finances. It's impossible to have more richness in my life. Or maybe about health, you may think it's impossible to be healthier. It's impossible to thrive. I see all these people healthy, but I can't be healthy. You may think like that. Maybe you have problems with sleep, and you may be like, it's impossible to fix this. Whatever you believe, my friend, only when you will start looking for a possibility, the possibility can show up for you. What you perceive as impossible may simply be outside your current understanding. And that is so true. So to expand your understanding means that you need to expand your knowledge, right? We need to expand the information we carry in our energy field, in our selves, in our bodies. And to expand the information means that we need to, meet new people, or read some new books, watch some new information that's completely outside of our familiar zone. Even if you go on YouTube, algorithms work the way that they're constantly showing you what is the most familiar to. That's how algorithms work. You watch one video about spirituality, and next time you will go on YouTube, there will be more videos about spirituality. So it automatically puts you into a certain box of information, and sometimes in order to expand your understanding so you can see more possibilities, you need to go outside of it. You need to go outside of algorithms. and well, read a completely new topic or watch a completely new topic of a video, or just go somewhere where you will meet completely new people. That's how you expand your understanding. As you start talking with these new people or reading these new subjects, you recognize that there's a field of whole new knowledge you were not aware of. And as you come across a field of whole new knowledge and whole new level of possibilities, you recognize, well, if it's possible for them, then it's possible for me as well. And that's when you start opening up to new possibilities. And that's very, very powerful because, well, life waits. It waits you. So you will open up, and then it will bring you new possibilities. And you know, when something extraordinary happens, then do not dismiss it. Ask what it is trying to tell you. Sometimes we come across synchronicities then, like you experience an unexpected amount of money comes into your life, like something mysterious happens, or someone gives it to you, or you experience a very incredible job offer, or you meet a person who's living a lifestyle you're dreaming about, and you may think it's just a random event. Well, it's a very extraordinary event because now you have an opportunity to investigate the patterns of that person. Or, well, if unexpected money came to you, you must investigate what you started doing so this thing could happen. Because you will notice that you've manifested it in one way or another. Like I've noticed in my family, the reason today we have a very wonderful relationship is because I've actually started upgrading myself. All the dysfunctional patterns from my family, I've started breaking them and healing them. And as I've started doing this kind of healing on myself, reality started reflecting back to me the healing that I've done, the changes I've done within me, inside of me. And therefore, I stopped thinking that with my family it's impossible to have a good relationship. Like so many times people say, oh, with my family it's impossible. And yeah, I believe that. Like I know some people who have very tough relationships with their family, and I get that. But also many times you don't know how much people can change. Or sometimes people say, I will never be rich. Or people say, I will never be successful. Or people say, for me it's impossible to make a living out of this because, well, it didn't work it never worked. But it's only because that's what's normal to us. Like, you know, in my childhood, until I was around 18, I was only surrounded with people who were very similar to my family members in terms of emotional closeness and the way we communicated. So this kind of relationship dynamics were normal to me. When I met Maya, when I started painting, when I've started my business, I've started meeting whole new level of people. It was like a new reality for me because I've noticed, wow, these people are so different. Like when I met my mentor, my business mentor back in 2018, every time we've seen each other, we've hugged each other. And it was a whole new game for me. And then every time I met a new person, it was like a very good progress on my journey of emotional openness. And as I've started connecting myself with more open people, this started becoming more normal to me. So it's similar to a financial situation. Like you start meeting more rich people, and I don't mean just financially rich, let's say happily rich, abundant people. You start meeting more of this kind of people, and suddenly it starts to become more normal to you. and as it starts to become more normal to you, you also start to think more like them. Because, well, firstly, we have mirror neurons in our brain, which means that we start copying the behaviors of others. Thoughts are contagious. Emotions are contagious. This is a scientific fact. And, well, when we start connecting with people who are on the level where we want to be, it becomes more normal to us. And suddenly what we thought that is impossible was just out of familiar frame, right? And that's where we open up so the impossible can happen. But when something extraordinary happens, then, well, we shouldn't dismiss it. We should accept it with gratitude, because it's a sign that we've done a change inside of us. There is a change we've done, and reality only reflects you that. So sometimes, well, we are living in a world where everyone says people are too irrational, people are too emotional, and you should be more rational, you should be more grounded, you should be more down to earth. But if you're too grounded and too down to earth, you will feel stuck. You will feel like nothing outside of reach is possible for you. So to be a bit irrational, a bit more irrational, a bit more dreamy is a way to a life that seems impossible to you. Because, well, firstly, you need to recognize your dreams. You need to recognize your visions. And usually if that dream is really real and powerful, you will do many irrational things, many emotional moves like I did, and many people I know that are today building an incredible life have done many risky moves that were completely irrational, and then later they've started grounding it and making plans around it and making it more safe. But at the beginning it was a very risky move, like starting a business with almost zero money on the bank account, or I don't know, going into a field where everything feels impossible. Like when I've started doing art, everyone said to me, you can't make a living out of doing art. But I found a way, and I had no idea how I will find a way, but I just trust that God will take me to well, if God planted a dream, a vision into my heart, it also means that God will guide me to that vision. But I have to have trust, and I have to surround myself with people who will support me and push me forward instead of holding me back like my family did when I was younger. And that's why it's so important to, like a bird at some point needs to leave its nest, you have to leave your nest as well. Leave the neighborhood where you're living. Leave, well, maybe the country where you're living. To those of you who know my story know that at some point in my life, me and Maya left everything behind. We've sold all of our stuff. What we needed, we packaged it into our car, and we went onto a life trip. We've been traveling for 4 months. For quite some time, we've been sleeping in a car because we couldn't afford to sleep somewhere. And that was the time in our lives where we were really reflecting deeply about how we want to spend the rest of our lives. And that's where the impossible things started happening for us, because, well, I would never think that what I'm doing today would be possible in any way. Like learning an English language, talking about what I was the most ashamed of. Then, yes, talking about spirituality that was such a, well, weird and unknown topic few years ago almost. Having a YouTube channel and making a living out of doing art. Like how much more weird it can be for my old me. So yes, it is impossible. It was impossible to me. Like if my younger self would be looking at my life, he would say, how can this be? But it's when we stretch ourselves completely out of what we know, we recognize, well, there's a whole new field of unknown. And unknown holds, well, infinite amount of data. So how can you think that something is impossible? Well, only if you stay too limited by what you know and you never stretch yourself outside of it. And that is so real. The world is not only what we see, but what we intuit, feel, and dream. That's why you've been having strange dreams like that woman at the beginning of this video. You've been having strange dreams sometimes because these dreams, like Carl Jung was exploring, are only symbols from your subconscious mind telling you that, well, different ways are also possible. You see, your brain speaks in a language of past and future. Your heart speaks in a language of the present moment. And that's why only when you become more present, you can hear, feel, and understand what your dreams are trying to tell you. And when you feel that something is impossible, it's only because you are analyzing it based by your past experiences. Well, if it's unfamiliar to you, it doesn't mean it's impossible. It only means it's unfamiliar. But something can become possible when you see that someone else has done it, right? And then you can learn from that person. You will be able to see that that person is living a bit different life, has a different mindset, has different habits, and has different, well, life patterns. Your willingness to see the miraculous determines whether or not you will experience it, right? Your willingness to see the miraculous. So there's one practice that I'm doing every single day. When I finish my day, I ask myself, what miraculous happened today? What miraculous happened today? How God surprised me today? In the morning, I set a prayer that I'm open for surprises and that God will lead me to places where my gifts are the most needed. And it will introduce me to miracles that will remind me of the magic of life. And then at the end of the day, I reflect what miraculous happened. And you know what? Every single day, there's something miraculous. And when I reflect more deeply, it really makes me think, because it was quite interesting. Like, how did it came true? How is it possible? Well, that person was so interestingly kind to me. This happened out of nowhere. I met an incredible person there. Like, one mysterious thing happened to me that at the beginning of December, I signed myself into a new gym. I've started going into that gym and I met so many, well, incredible people there. Like, a whole community is so incredible, and like every time I go into the gym, I'm looking forward to go there. I love going there because I know I will have some wonderful interactions. I've heard so many wonderful stories from different people, some older, some younger, and it was to me very, very mysterious thing. Like, I've been going to many different gyms in my life and I never experienced something like that. And I look at it as a miracle. So think about, how could you start to look for more miraculous things in your life? Because maybe just out of what you're used to see, there's many miracles that you've never perceived because you were not looking for them. Just think about it. Open yourself to mystery, intuition, and synchronicity. Open yourself. You can just be a bit more intentional. Like, every single day, just be a bit more intentional. Show me a miracle. Show me a synchronicity. Show me an event that I will not be able to explain. And then just, well, go for it. Go for it. See what happens. See what happens if you become more intentional. If you start to look for more possibilities. If you start stretching yourself even more out of what you know. Start reading different subjects, different books. Like if you're into spirituality, maybe read also about psychology, read also about finances. And then I know to some of you, those are very dense topics, which is okay and I understand, but maybe look if you're drawn to something else. Just explore it, because, well, one of purposes of life is exploration. It's an adventure. And that's how the calling should feel. When life calls you onto an adventure, you should say yes to it. And that's when you experience the impossible, right? So the impossible is about to happen, my friend. Open up for it. Open up for it. Oh, yes. Open up for it. Okay? Are you ready? Are you ready, my friend? I know that you are. Yes, I know that you are. So let's go. Write in the comment section, let's go. Let's go. Miracles are the front tire of the undiscovered, right? Miracles are the front tire of the undiscovered. And that means that you need to take yourself onto a path of discovery. Not of a path of what you already know. It's from the past onto a path of discovery. Wake up with a mind of a student who's ready to learn, who has an empty cup and is ready so that they can pour something new into them. So when you turn your head towards the world, you don't just look at what you know. It's boring, it's known, it's familiar. You look also into what you don't know. Like when you meet strangers, ask them for their stories. When you meet, new people, ask them how your life is going. When you go to new places, ask people what's, interesting about this place. That's how you open up, right? And become intentional. Life, God, universe, show me a miracle today. And then don't just look for it. Feel it. Experience it with your whole body. Maybe just this moment is a miracle for you because it reminded you, it woke you up a little bit. There's so much to explore, right? I will leave you here, so let's go and explore. I want to say big thanks to everyone for choosing to support my art. You can go and explore on AttractPassion.com which painting resonates with you the most because, each painting has its own philosophy, its own story, and maybe there's something that will resonate with you, that can bring some new fresh energy to your space and will inspire you to explore even more in your life. Thank you so much for your support, and also thanks to everyone for joining our Patreon community for more exclusive content. See you there. Until next time, one love.